Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching or rewatching this video with us. We are so excited about this collaboration between Love Mentors and Savannah Chatham to really move the needle and help utilize your expertise, our expertise, and everybody's time, effort, and energy to help these children grow into strong and proficient readers. So let's get started. Oops, sorry. This is the brief agenda overview of the training. Of course, we'll skip introductions and we'll do a brief overview of the science of reading, like the theory behind the research. Think about how we utilize the resources provided by Savannah Chatham to provide some really targeted literacy instruction. Then thinking about how all of the Love mentors can capitalize on the read alouds that they love to do with the students. It's our understanding that you have a big scholastic book fair, you select books that bring you joy, that you think might bring your mentee joy. And so really let's talk about the science and the thinking behind that to make those experiences successful. And then thinking about, and this is where we're going to kind of toss the ball to you and let you support each other in that mentoring time. And then we'll talk about some of the logistics at the sites, and then I have some additional resources at the end. So I will say, for those of you that don't know me or don't remember, my name is L.O.V.E. I am the Assistant Dean for Partnerships and Outreach in the College of Education at Georgia Southern, really helping to support literacy tutoring efforts in Savannah Chatham, in Candler County, in Statesboro as well. So it's not just you, it's not just Love Mentors. We really, as a university and a college of ed, are trying to make some efforts and make some headway and support where we can. So my role really, and our role, won't just be me, is to provide that ongoing training for you as mentors want it and are able to attend. So Roy and I will definitely be in communication about what that can look like and when that should happen for all of you. You can reach me. Roy, of course, has my email, and Sherry Goldman has my email, but it's Aleckie, Aleckie, at georgiasouthern.edu. And you can see my name on the screen, I think. So it's just my first initial last name at georgiasouthern.edu. And I'm absolutely here to help and support. So let's talk for a minute, like, what is the science of reading? So the science of reading has been around for a long time, and we have really just come together as large groups of people to really think about what is that systematic process that we can follow to help young readers or young learners learn how to read. So you can see, like, pulling in neuroscience, developmental psychology, education, and cognitive psychology, like how does the brain work and how does the brain make sense of language and print? So our goal really is just to set students up for success and take a lot of the guesswork out of it. Like, how do I know what the student needs? How do I know what I'm doing is making an impact? So when we use some of these best practices to guide us, we can really maximize our impact. So Sherry likes to say that this simple view of reading is a misnomer. I like to, because reading is not a simple process, but I like to call this the simple graphic that explains the reading processes in the brain. So we really have two parts that work together to help that result in reading comprehension. So we have word recognition, meaning when I come across a word on a piece of paper, on a text, of any kind, I guess, not just paper, I can look at it, I can decode it, meaning I can sound it out, I can break it down into parts, or I just recognize it rapidly. So for me, I can do word recognition in English and pretty much any other language that uses our alphabet. And knowing some of their phonemic differences might be, but I know our letters and the basic sounds, and I can do that. Now, give me Russian, okay, or Korean, I wouldn't be able to come across, I don't know what sounds connect to the print on the page. So the first piece is we really need to have students to have some decoding skills. How do I break down a word into its parts and have it make sense? We also, that works in tandem and conjunction, they're equal partners in this endeavor of reading comprehension, is language comprehension. So although I might be able to word call a bunch of words in French because our alphabets are similar, I probably have no idea what I'm saying. I don't have the words, the comprehension of what those words mean, even though I might be able to say those words or come close to saying those words. So we need to know what the words mean as well as how they sound and what they look like on text. When we can do that together, we get reading comprehension. So Scarborough's reading rope helps us break down those two pieces, word recognition and language comprehension, into two ropes. And when we braid those ropes together, we end up with skilled readers. So I'll start at the bottom and work up. So word recognition, that ability to see a word and sound it out, break it apart, decode it, and say it, has three parts, or three aspects, I guess I should say. One is phonological awareness, knowing how to break words into syllables, knowing which letters make which sounds, which words blend together to make which sounds. It also has decoding, meaning what is the spelling, the letter that makes these sounds, right? Do I know how to do the basic decoding of text? And then we also have sight recognition. There are some words that kids just need to learn how to read by sight because, there's so many words in English that don't follow all of those patterns, right? Like the word the, T-H-E, is not T-H-E, it's the, and how we blend those letters together doesn't follow a distinct pattern, right? And it doesn't have a picture. Like, how do you represent the? So all of those decoding pieces going together helps with word recognition. And then we also have language recognition, which is all of the background knowledge that I bring to text. Have I had experiences like this before? So what I'm reading about makes sense to me. Do I have the vocabulary? Do the words on the pages is the text using words that I know and understand? Also, language structure. So do I know how sentences are organized? And also, what are those kind of key words that show me this is cause and effect, for example? So I know how we structure language and words into sentences. And then there's also that verbal reasoning. So there are going to be times when skilled readers have to inference or pull together lots of clues to understand a text because it's not clearly stated. So for example, if we're reading a story and we come across the sentence, the man stomped out of the room and slammed the door, right? We know that that man was probably angry, right? The words stomped and slammed are clues to that, but nowhere in that sentence did it say the angry man stomped out of the room and slammed the door. So being able to pull in lots of cues to make sense of text is that verbal reasoning. And of course, literacy knowledge, knowing the structure of stories, knowing the structure of a cause and effect text, or an informational text, or knowing that a play has a different structure than a personal narrative. All of those pieces of overall structure also facilitate reading comprehension. And then on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, the National Reading Panel came up in about 2020 with these 5 pillars of reading. Phonemic awareness, knowing sounds, being able to identify the sounds in the language. Phonics, making connections between the sound and the symbol. Fluency, that ability to read smoothly, what we call with prosody, and not read one word at a time. And then, like I mentioned before, vocabulary is paramount. If I don't know what the words mean, it doesn't matter if I can read them. And then all of those work together to help us understand a text and comprehend. All right, so thinking about how to structure your hour and really making sure we can do our best, right, to integrate these pillars of literacy into that hour of time you're spending with students. So we've fully recognized that mentoring occurs across the entire 60 minutes of that hour, right? When you are helping a child persevere through a challenging text, when you are their cheerleader because they've mastered a challenging text, when you help them regulate their emotions when they're getting frustrated, When you bring in a text in a read aloud that has great characters and themes and ideas that you guide them to consider to learn more about life. All of that is, of course, mentoring as well, just really also with that literacy focus. So thinking about your just right readers for 30 minutes, a read aloud for about 15 minutes, and then that final mentorship support connection for about 15 minutes. And note the word about is paramount, right? Different days, different texts, different things, but just to give you an idea about how to structure your hour. By no means are we saying set your timer, right? Just some guidance. So the Just Right readers, we are really fortunate that Savannah Chatham has a new literacy series, and these Just Right readers are supplementary materials. So they are leveled. They start very basic, and then as they progress, of course, they get more complex. They are decodable texts. So they are written and constructed not to present great characters or plots or big ideas. They really are structured to facilitate students' ability to decode words, right? And targeting words and choosing words that follow patterns so that students can have that repeated exposure. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, I don't know what you mean by phonics. I haven't done phonics in a long time, if I ever remember doing any phonics. But the great thing about these Just Right readers is if you open the front page, there's a little QR code you can scan, and it gives you a 2-minute phonics lesson. This is a skill that they're focusing on, just so you know and understand a little more about that. Each text has a targeted phonics skill. It has targeted high frequency words that students are going to see a lot of times in a lot of texts. So it really behooves them to learn how to develop their fluency and rapidity of word recognition with those words. There's some new vocabulary, some additional support, there's some fluency practice, and then it gives us an opportunity to really, how are they doing? And we have a super duper easy form that you just check some lines to see how they did at the end of your lesson. But we'll get to that at the end. All right, so thinking about your 30 minutes with this Just Right reader. So you will come in, you'll grab your Love Mentors folder and go get the child, whatever the process is at the school for you to begin working with the student. And then we know, take a minute, do a check-in, see how their day is going, share a little bit about yourself, but please don't just start reading with the reader. So connect with the child. Then you're going to use the front flap of that Just Right reader and then the back flap of that Just Right reader, because those are the skills and the sounds, the phonics and the high frequency words that the students are going to encounter in the text. So just take a minute, get your mentees' initial understanding of these words. How can they read them at all by themselves? What's their level at? What are they knowing? And just a pre-exposure will make your lesson more effective. Just 5 minutes. Then take about 10 minutes to read that decodable text. We have some strategies that we're going to share with you to help you build fluency while you're reading. And some of these texts you might even be able to read more than once. They're super short, they're super straightforward. So you might get a time to really develop fluency within this really short text. And then take some time. Ask them some comprehension questions. Did they understand the text, what was happening in the story? Kind of do that debrief. And then at the end, the last few minutes, take one more look at the back page and review those words and see how the student does. Really straightforward, right in the book together. Like I said, these decodable readers are really structured to support success of the teacher as well as the student. All right, so there are several strategies you saw listed there to read the book aloud with your mentee. These are strategies that teachers use in Savannah Chatham in their small group and their guided reading, so students should be pretty familiar with them. All right, so before we dive into those strategies, just a quick reminder about fluency. When we're reading these texts with the child, there's some things we want to focus on. One, accuracy. Are they reading without mistakes? Two, automaticity. Are they able to read effortlessly, have some sight word recognition, or do they stop and sound out each sound in the word? So how is that accuracy and effort? Then the rate, and then of course how quickly they're reading, and then are they reading with expression? Are they reading in a monotone, or are they reading with some expression that shows their comprehension? All right, so in order to help develop student skills in all of those areas of fluency, you are key. You are essential because you are the expert reader. And you will notice in these strategies that we start off with really the most supportive reading environment to the least scaffolded or supported reading environment. So the first one is choral reading. And it's exactly that. You and your mentee are going to read in chorus. You're going to read together. So you will have your Just Right reader. You will take your finger and the student's finger, or the student can use their finger by themselves. And as the student's moving, you're reading along with the text together. So you might notice that the student will be like a second or two behind you because he's using you as that guide, but he's hearing you, you're reading along together, right? And he's gonna follow, or she is gonna follow along. And you just read through that book in chorus together. Echo reading still allows for that really solid modeling of prosody, expression, and how to say the words on the page. Echo reading takes one step back from choral reading, and in echo reading, you will use your finger to follow along and read the words on the page. Using your finger really helps students make connections between the way a word looks and the way a word sounds. So it really helps make that sound symbol connection for students. So the first time you will read through and echo read, and read, sorry, and then your student will echo you and reread that same sentence or chunk of text using his or her finger to follow along. So you can just echo read. You read the line, he reads the same line. You read a line, he reads the same line. So you're echoing the text back and forth. Partner up is when you, instead of echoing, you alternate. So you will start to read the first chunk and you decide what that chunk is. It could be a sentence. It might be a half a sentence, depending on the student that you're working with. It might be a couple of sentences. You as the mentor will just monitor and gauge that as you're working. So in partner up, you read a line using your finger modeling, and then the student does the same thing on the next line. So instead of echoing, it's subsequent. Close reading is when sorry, I had to chastise my dog. Close reading is when you read along and then you read several words and then you stop with your finger on a word and the mentee will read the word where you've stopped. Ideally, it's great to stop on those high frequency words, the words that are emphasizing the phonics skill of the day, so you can assess how well they're able to read those words independently. So it's kind of like a fill in the blank, but the blank isn't a blank, it's a pause. So for example, if I was reading with my mentee the first sentence on this page, I would read, and let's say I'm emphasizing the long E vowel team, E-A, E-E, or E-I, right? So I'm reading along and I say, close reading is a routine for, and then you would say reading, aloud and strategically leaving out words while children chime in chorally. Notice that I stopped on the words that had the long E vowel team sound so that you can follow along. You can assess their ability to decode words with the phonics emphasis. Not that you always have to do that, it's a good strategy as long as you are able. All right. Scooping is what helps develop student skills in chunking groups of words together in meaningful units. So you will see in the 3 sentences that are there in the green, the yellow, and the blue, that same sentence about Jim and Beth sitting in the den is scooped 3 different ways. All 3 of those ways are absolutely correct because the scoop divides meaning units. So Jim and Beth sat makes sense. It's a unit of meaning in the den. You can also have Jim and Beth sat in the den. Or Jim and Beth sat in the den. Because those words grouped the way they are on those scoops are meaningful units. What will not make sense is if I scoop Jim and Beth sat. Because that meaningful unit, Beth belongs with Jim and, right? And so helping students identify those scoops and knowing, again, that there's no one right way to do that. All right, so that's it. That's your decodable book portion. Now let's talk about read alouds. Read alouds are amazing ways for you to model fluency, teach new vocabulary, really talk about some big issues and concepts, and push students' comprehension skills, because often their listening comprehension skills are more advanced than their reading comprehension. So you can develop comprehension skills without the interference, so to speak, of the printed text. And reading should be fun, right? It's through these read alouds when we share our joy and excitement and passion about books and about literature that we can really pass on to the students we're working with. So how to make a read aloud effective. 1, read with expression, right? Don't have a monotone. Pick a book and a story that you enjoy and can read with expression. Number 2 on there is a really critical step. It's a great opportunity to help students develop we call it metacognitive skills, right? So that they're thinking about their own thinking and processing. So all of us as skilled readers, when we come across a situation in a text, our brain automatically asks these questions. So for example, referring to the situation before, the excerpt from the text about the man stomped out of the room and slammed the door. I might stop. Let's say I read that in a read aloud with the students. I might stop and say, wow, I wonder why he did that. I wonder how he's feeling right now. I wonder how the people in the room where he left are feeling right now. And why do you think they think that? So I'm just like wondering and thinking about a text. And then I say, gosh, he's probably feeling angry. Like I only stomp when I'm angry. Or maybe when I'm stomping in a puddle, but really I stomp in it and when I'm angry, and I slam doors when I'm mad and upset. So my guess is that he's pretty angry. So thinking aloud, showing the process behind some of those comprehension and inference skills it's a great opportunity you have to do during read alouds. We can highlight those vocabulary words. Remember, language, word knowledge, comprehension, vocabulary is key to success in reading. So these decodable texts, you will notice they're not full of complex ideas and thoughts or even very complex vocabulary. But when I do a read aloud, like there are words in a text that I can teach my students in the moment, or at least expose them to in the moment to develop their overall language knowledge. And really asking those open-ended questions to foster critical and deep thinking about text. And we do have resources to help you do all of that. So really capitalizing on the read aloud to make it a learning and engagement experience. And think of the text you could select with lessons or morals that you can use to foster your mentoring and support. All right, I don't have much to say here. You all are mentors. You all are the experts. You have your methods of sharing great ideas and structures with you. In the training, of course, we let the mentors talk to each other and develop their skills. That's where we definitely defer to you as experts. All right, so I mentioned resources. At each of your sites delivered this week, you will find folders for every student that will be mentored at the school site. The folders look like the diagram on the left. You have the student name. The site or the school-based person is going to assign them a L.O.V.E mentor ID. We do this so we can look at the data, see how they're doing. We can track how many times their student attended to his L.O.V.E mentor. We can look at what's happening inside the folder, like where is the student struggling? Where do we need to go so that we can really do what we need the other days of the week and hours in the day when the L.O.V.E mentor is not there to support. And of course your name, because you deserve credit for all the time, effort, and energy. There is no QR code, so just pretend that that isn't even there. On the left-hand side of that folder, there's a getting to know you form that you can use with the student the first time you're working with them, just to learn a little bit about them, and know what their interests are, maybe help you select some scholastic books that might be of interest to them. We have a phonics progression just to give you some background, like, gosh, I'm seeing that my student's working on this skill. That means this is probably coming up next, or this is what he or she already knows because they learned it previously. There's the reading strategies, choral reading, echo reading, partner reading, close reading, swooping. The how-tos are there for you too. There's some questioning strategies and some questioning SAMs so that you don't have to think of those all on the spot. And then we did provide a list of mentoring ideas in the very back, just because we know you do have some new ones. On the right-hand side are the feedback forms. And I'm gonna hang on. I'm going to go to the form right now and then I'll go back. So I know it's hard to see on this screen, so I'm just going to tell you what it is. On this form, you put the student's name, your name, and the dates. Great. Just the skill that's in the book, that's on the front page, and the title of the book that you're doing. Great. Then you're going to spend some time, you're going to do your lesson. At the end of the lesson, you are going to check one box in each of this one, this one, this one, this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4 check marks. Like, what happened? How did he struggle? Did he kind of struggle, or did he ace it? Just to give feedback to the teacher or instructional coach or whoever. Like, how did the child do with that level book? Then with the read aloud, like, what you read? Like, and what's the comprehension? Just so we can gauge and get some information. And if you did any additional mentoring support, and here's the reason for this. If Mary works with her L.O.V.E mentor every Tuesday, and Mary has an attendance issue, but we notice that Mary is never absent on Tuesdays, we're going to look and see what's happening in that mentoring support. We're going to reach out to you and be like, wow, Mary comes to school every Tuesday because you are here. But if we don't document what's happening, we don't know what's going on, it's just hard to document that. And then anything else that you notice, like those boxes at the bottom, are because you're going to notice things in this one-on-one hour-long session with students that many of our classroom teachers are not going to have time to do. There are just not enough hours in the day and there are too many students. So what did you notice? Anything we should know. And then the bottom part is for the teacher. So you and the teacher can have that ongoing communication, because we get it. You're picking up the student, the teacher's teaching a lesson, you have to drop the student off, the teacher's still probably teaching, or maybe you have to zip off to an appointment because you're volunteering your time, and we definitely appreciate that. So just that minimal communication. Oh, sorry. Here we go. So really is, these folders are a way to systematic, because there's a lot of you. There's a lot of L.O.V.E mentors, and you're not the only literacy tutors that are working in Savannah Chatham. So how do we document the time that our students are spending with that one-on-one guided support? How do we document that reading growth? How do we make those connections to classroom learning and other positive school behaviors? So really, those forms are just a quick conduit of information, because everybody's busy. Schools are busy places. You all have busy lives. And so the folders can be that communication piece, so that we don't have to depend on somebody to be present and available to have a conversation each time that you're in the building to best serve the student. All right. Folders will be ready to go. Well, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's October 15th, but Wednesday and Thursday, I'll be dropping them off at the schools. The site coordinators will have access to them. And like I said, reach out to me at any point in time. I do want to show you 2 additional resources that you can utilize if you're just eager to learn more about literacy instruction, reading instruction, want to develop your skills or get some ideas. So coxcampus.org, free, totally free. You want to use this. You're going to first go to educators, because you are educators. You are educating these young learners in how to be more proficient and skilled readers. Sorry. And then you're going to go to the K-3 structured literacy modules. These are most aligned to the work that you'll be doing in the schools. Then you click on them. I think mine are I'm all completed. So they have all different kinds of modules, oral language, early literacy. Look at that rope, looks familiar. Phonics instruction, meaningful read alouds, vocabulary instruction, reading fluency. So all of these examples, and there's many classroom excerpts. It's free. You can stop and start at any point in time. So it just is a good resource if you want to, if you so desire, not required, but if you so desire to develop those skills. And then the Just Right readers. If you're like, oh my gosh, I need more information about this resource, here's the website, right? It is justrightreader.com. So you can look at sample books, you can see a sample phonics lesson, you can look at that layout there. Just if you want to familiarize yourself with that resource or need to review, you do your first couple tutoring sessions and you're like, I don't think I'm doing this right. So know that those are resources for you as well. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Please reach out with any questions or concerns, and I look forward to working with all in the future.